Can I ask your name and where you're from?
I'm Don Vangelen from St. Mary's, Ontario.
Okay, and which riding is that?
That's Perth Wellington.
Okay. And your name and where you're from?
I'm Cynthia Baltumas, and I'm from North Wellington, near Mount Forest, and that's Perth Wellington.
Can I ask you, there's a lot of policy debate that's going on. There's going to be policy workshops tomorrow. There's also how the party runs itself, constitutional workshops. What's catching your attention?
Well, I think the most interesting thing is how we determine policy and whether or not we're going to have a free and open debate about policies or whether the National Policy Committee should be charged with vetting policies before they get to convention. I don't really see that as their role. I see them as operating the national chain that determines policies that are the EDAs are going to forward, and then compiling them by support that they get from other EDAs to come to convention and then be vetted here by the members.
There is a move afoot, if I'm not mistaken. There's a website and there's a movement afoot within the party to guarantee that if a policy proposal comes up in more than 100 ridings, that it automatically makes it to convention. Are you part of that?
Yes, I am. I support that initiative. I think it's grassroots democracy. Freer policy.
And what about you? Is that a concern for you in terms of how policy is made?
It is, and I'm more constitutional. I'm very interested in how the party runs, and of course that's part of the freer policy that, you know, we can't be hamstrung. We've got to be able to do our work.
Is there a feeling that you've got an opportunity here because you're not in government? There is an opportunity to raise these, some people would call it housekeeping issues, some people would call it profound democratic issues within the party. That this is a good time to do it in this convention when you're not in power.
It's always a good time to do it, but not specifically because we're not in power. We should be able to do it all the time, and that's the purpose of having a decent constitution, which is what runs the party. It's the administrative part of the party.
Do you get the impression that there is some frustration? There's a level of frustration about how centralized things have become under the party?
Yes, yeah,
absolutely. And that goes beyond just policy issues too, and it does go into how the party functions and how it organizes itself and prepares for elections. There seemed to be an overemphasis on what the National Committee thought rather than the EDAs, who have to run their own campaigns by themselves, and they don't want to be controlled by other issues.
There's a resolution as well. There's one resolution which deals with getting the National Council out of the business of controlling timetables for candidates. There was an accusation they were meddling in how long you had to choose candidates, candidate nomination meetings, things like that. You're smiling. I see this hits a chord with you.
Yeah, well, that's one of our that's one of our proposals is how the EDAs are forced to have their nomination meetings, and ours was the first one done, apparently.
Constitutional changes take a 2/3 majority, and if I'm not mistaken, they also take what's called a national majority, like a regional by region. Do you think there's any chance that this party will come out of this convention with a fairly different constitution?
You're right to point out that it's a higher level to achieve, and I've seen a lot in previous not make it, even though they seem to have good support throughout the convention. But I think because we're not in power, people are a little bit more free to exercise their choices here without being worried about the discipline of government. And I don't mean, the Prime Minister saying that something has to be done. It's just not having to be concerned about what the impact on the current government would be. And I think that there's a better chance of these resolutions passing at this convention.
Do you think that we'll see some change, constitutional change, coming out of this convention?
Oh, yeah. You pretty much always do. But they have to be meaningful changes. They can't be just changing some wording and the result is the same. There's got to be some change to it.
Okay, well, I want to thank both of you. Thanks, both of you. We will watch that session tomorrow, the breakout session, and then the plenary session on constitutional changes. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you your name and where you're from?
Patrick Handlin, St. John's East, Newfoundland, Labrador.
And your name and where are you from?
Matthew Kaminski. I'm from NDG Westmount, Quebec.
You both saw the debate, and the debate is now, the vote has been taken, and with very probably the motion will go forward. The workshop session has voted to basically change policy when it comes to same-sex marriage, to accept same-sex marriage. You spoke against it. Why?
Well, if we as a party oppose the traditional definition of marriage, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. The social conservative movement in this party is rather large. The social conservative voters will stay at home on election day. They will not donate to the party. They will not get involved in the party. Or they could even vote for a fringe party or a third party like the Christian Heritage Party and split the Conservative vote. If they don't split the Conservative vote, they'll just stay home, which means every Liberal and NDP will just walk into power and take the government, and the Conservatives will have no chance in ever retaining power again without the social conservative vote, and this just alienates us all.
Okay, I guess the other question, though, someone would ask, though, the people on the other side of the issue would say, well, yeah, but aren't we doing the right thing? That's what they would argue. Yes, but we're doing the right thing. We're being tolerant. We're accepting different forms of marriage. What do you make of that?
It is not the right thing. Canada, in the preamble of the Constitution, is founded on principles that recognize the supremacy of God. There's enough said right there.
Okay. You are on the other side on this issue. What do you make of the fact that this could potentially be a really divisive issue for parts of the party?
I don't see it as a divisive issue at all. I see it as a possibility of unification. We lost an election, and one part of it was not having the youth vote and not having a strong LGBT community. And I think by unifying together, getting everyone together, and that includes having gay marriage, the belief in gay marriage from a conservative point of view, that will help unify for the next election. It'll help bring people together and actually take one progressive step to get winning back Parliament the next time around.
What about people, though? I mean, it's undeniable that there is a social conservative contingent and part of this party. And what about the argument? Well, they're going to leave us in droves, and they do constitute a part of the conservative base.
I don't think that. I just don't think it's as big of an issue as people are proposing. It's something that we need to adapt with the times. It's all about the times. When we are in a point where our party is weak in one area and strong in another, we need to try and build forward. We can't just stick with the same thing. We need to adapt to the times. And the times are telling us that what we did in terms of the last election of believing in gay marriage was not working. It was not working.
In terms of St. John East, would you then still be able to be part of the party, which, if this goes to plenary and is passed, recognizes same-sex marriage? I mean, some arguments are that it's been now legally recognized for almost 10 years.
Well, first of all, just a comment about the youth coming to the party because we may support same-sex marriage. That's not necessarily the case. The young people of this country are becoming increasingly conservative. Traditional family values, conservative. They are rebelling against their parents, who in turn rebelled against the social conservative generation before them. So really, if we want to reach out to the youth, we reach out to them with social conservative principles.
You see this splitting the party, though? I mean, would you want to, I don't know, search for another party? You mentioned Christian Heritage Party.
Well, we do have to look at all of our options. We do have to look at all of our options and continue to work to build up the traditional definition of marriage and the pro-family side of the country. This battle is not over yet. This is not set in stone yet. It still has to go to the plenary and then go to the membership there. So we'll may stop it in there.
Okay, last question then. What's the strategy now? This does go to a plenary session tomorrow. There will be, I can probably forecast, there will be quite a debate on that floor.
I'd just like to say I am part of the youth movement. I came here along with a lot of friends who believe in the same values I do. And one of the things that they wanted was a strong belief in gay marriage. And that is something that we need. And it's something that we share among the youths. So, I mean, I have to disagree with you on that point. I come from a youth sector. We all believe in it. And we think, generally speaking, that it will help bring people together for the next election and build on a stronger campaign next summer.
Okay, I want to thank both of you. We're going to watch this. I mean, obviously, it's going to go to the plenary tomorrow. We'll watch with great interest. I want to thank both of you for taking the time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you your name and where you're from?
My name's Amanda Wheat, and I'm from Richmond Centre, the riding.
And you are Mark Warawa, the MP for?
Langley, Aldergrove.
Let's talk about the resolution that was just voted on. It's a resolution to basically support the idea of medically assisted dying, that the party support it. The resolution didn't go forward. It's died, so it's not going to go forward to the plenary. You argued for the resolution. What do you make of, what was your argument, and what do you make of what happened?
Well, I voted for the resolution to be brought to plenary. I'm obviously very disappointed that it hasn't been. I think it's an important issue that should be brought to more Conservatives for debate, and I wanted more of the delegates here to be able to hear the debate and vote more as a group rather than just have it out in a breakout session.
The party has traditionally opposed what was called doctor-assisted suicide. This resolution says that it should be considered an inalienable right, a private right, something that should be done after due reflection, but that should have standards across the country. So in support of it, what do you make of the fact that it won't go forward? Is that a big loss for you?
Well, I mean, the law does now recognize doctor-assisted suicide. Our party will not recognize it, but I think that our party will eventually get with the times and recognize that this is the law right now.
Mark Warawa, on what basis did you oppose, well, you were in the majority, on what basis did you oppose the resolution?
Well, I agree with Amanda that we should have discussed this. Unfortunately, the resolution that was put forward was very poorly written, and it said that all Canadians, without conditions, any conditions, without any safeguards, all Canadians have the right to assisted suicide. And that wasn't the Carter decision. There had to be irremediable suffering, and all of that was absent from the motion, from the resolution. So my comments were in 2 years at our next policy convention. I look forward to us coming up with a resolution that presents where we are as a party. And those that supported it said it should be terminal. Well, the resolution didn't say that. It said those that were in pain. The resolution didn't say that. So it was a poorly written resolution. That's why I opposed it. So I agree with Amanda that we need to deal with this as a party. And we need to respect the decision of the Supreme Court. And the responsibility of Parliament and us as a party needs to create safeguards that protect the vulnerable.
Well, this is interesting because you mentioned then the legislation which is before you as MPs. Have you decided how you will vote on the legislation which is before Parliament and before you as MPs?
C-14 still has a lot of problems. It doesn't provide conscience protection for physicians. It does not provide a requirement for palliative care to deal with the suffering. It does not deal with the issue of advanced directives or underlying mental illness, minors. So there's a lot of problems with C-14. It is better than nothing, and so if I had to, I would be tempted to support it, but it needs to be changed, either now, preferably, or in the future.
Is it a problem then, the fact that you have the law of the land, which will probably pass C-14, it will allow some forms of doctor-assisted dying, and yet the party is still opposed to doctor-assisted suicide?
I think it is a problem. I think that our party needs to come together and decide as a party where we stand on this issue. Personally, I do believe that the party should be supporting what the law currently is and that the Supreme Court has decided. I do agree that we do need safeguards and conditions on when doctor-assisted suicide is appropriate, but by voting down the resolution sort of completely, we kind of close the door to that conversation.
Well, how about redrafting for 2 years' time with a more specific resolution?
That would be great.
That would be part of it, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank both of you. Thanks for speaking with us and interesting developments. It's always interesting to watch how these resolutions go. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.